Surrender, or there will be trouble.
Good news, 80s action fans. Blasting bad guys' brains out and balls off is still RoboCop's business, and business is unfinished.
Those mercenaries are my unfinished business.
A standalone expansion to 2023's entertainingly authentic RoboCop Rogue City, RoboCop Rogue City Unfinished Business takes Robo's relentless rampage off the scum-riddled streets of old Detroit and up through the heavily guarded heights of Omni Tower in an all-new 10-hour killing spree. The bad news is that with precious few new weapons and enemy types, the action of Unfinished Business never really elevates enough to match the skyward trajectory of its setting, or distinguish itself as little more than a replay of the original. There's still plenty of ultra-violence to indulge in here, but it's a form of mindless fun that's as familiar as it is ferocious. Not unlike the 2012 sci-fi splatterfest movie Dread, the action of Unfinished Business is contained almost entirely within the one high-rise building, and sees RoboCop making his way from the ground floor to its upper reaches in search of some stolen OCP equipment. It borrows a bit of BioShock as well, since Robo is initially led along by an anonymous assistant on the other end of a two-way radio, and that helps to lend a welcome air of mystery to the story's opening half, even if it doesn't eventually pay off with any shocking plot twists like Irrational Games' underwater classic.
Up ahead, there is a security room. Reach it.
Who are you?
No time for that.
As was the case with the previous game, the success of Unfinished Business's storytelling largely hinges on the often hilarious deadpan delivery of original RoboCop actor Peter Weller in the main role.
Hey, your voice acting's really good too.
Whether he's repeating iconic lines from the movies,
Stay out of trouble.
or making a subtle mockery of almost everyone he meets, Weller's performance is a noticeable cut above the rest.
Start where people gather, like in bars.
A valuable insight I could have never seen on my own.
Are you being sarcastic?
Admittedly, that's not a super high bar to clear, since the supporting cast often sound like they're voiced by hastily dashed out placeholder recordings someone forgot to fill in with the real ones.
This is really urgent. There are necessary meds inside this locker, please.
And each seem to draw from the same shallow pool of character heads, making it tough to really distinguish one from the other.
Of course, no one cares about my problems.
In the end, I was happy to go along for the ride all the way to Unfinished Business's bullet-riddled gorgasm of a climax, in spite of the fact that I didn't particularly feel compelled to focus on anyone other than the scumbag standing squarely in front of my iron sights. Beyond the story though, Unfinished Business is a fairly flat 10 hours because while it increases the amount of bad guys you have to shoot, it doesn't do nearly enough to expand the variety of ways you do it. If you've played 2023's Rogue City, then you've already experienced the bulk of what Unfinished Business's combat has to offer. Once again, you're able to ricochet bullets off walls to stylishly snipe enemies hidden behind cover, perform breach and clears on almost every door you come across in blood-splattered slow motion, and shoot explosive barrel after explosive barrel as you robo-stop and robo-drop absolutely every criminal you come across. It's all presented with the same fan-pleasing flair, from the green Apple IIe-like graphics of Robo's heads-up display, to the iconic theme music that swells along with the increasing enemy numbers, and that certainly still goes a long way. It's just a shame to see the skill and Auto 9 upgrade systems copied across seemingly unchanged. You unlock the exact same perks as the previous game, just a little faster this time thanks to the story's shorter runtime. There are a handful of new mechanical enemy types to contend with at least, though none of them really shake things up to a dramatic degree. I did find myself making more consistent use of Robo's returning slow-mo skill in order to combat the fast-moving robo-bombs that rapidly roll towards you, as well as the swarms of flying security drones that dart unpredictably through the air above. But while the nimble killbots that cartwheel around the place seem threatening at first blush, they quickly proved to be about as resilient as a jar of baby food, as I either shattered their robot skulls with a quick burst of bullets, or simply picked them up and disposed of them like katana-wielding Kleenexes, even on the hardest difficulty setting. Omni Tower itself does offer the occasional interesting space to host the slaughter in, from the vibrant video arcade and cinema found in the relaxation zone, to the trash bag strewn underbelly of waste management, complete with a Star Wars style trash compactor to frantically blast your way out of. Those are the exception though, and most of the carnage takes place in the charmless concrete corridors in between. That's to be expected from a tour through a corporate dystopia, sure, but it doesn't make for a lot of fun surprises. Despite the striking gallery of gore and particle effects that shower over each firefight, there were times that Unfinished Business's drab interiors made it feel less like a thrilling action adventure, and more like wandering in circles through a shopping mall car park trying to work out where I left my 6000 SUX.
Everything looks the same! But like rats in some experiment!
Still, the biggest problem I had with Unfinished Business's gunplay was the same one I found with 2023's Rogue City. That is, Robo's signature Auto 9, blessed as it is with unlimited ammo, easily upgradable attributes, and an undeniable cool factor, makes the dozens of other firearms found throughout the campaign almost entirely redundant. It's just so over-equipped to deal with everything that's thrown your way that I never found a good enough reason to holster it. There is one exception. The cryo cannon that's introduced in the second half proved to be worth a few charged up trigger squeezes, especially since its sub-zero rounds turn your targets into instant ice sculptures that can be subsequently shattered like the T-1000. But otherwise, I almost never felt the need to bend over and grab any other dropped firearms. And not just because Robo appears to have the knee joints of an 80-year-old man, as well as the voice of a 78-year-old.
Your status?
Electrify to teach boys a lesson.
Unfinished Business's structure is effectively built around a cycle of using your Auto 9 to deep six hordes of mercenaries, pausing to settle disputes between citizens in side missions that veer from moderately humorous to completely banal,
We're the only suppliers of diapers in the building. If you ban us, shit will flood the streets.
and then flicking some switches and turning valves in its basic puzzle sections to open the path ahead, before resuming the unrelenting blaze of glorious gore.
Enemy contact!
There are only a handful of detours along the way that at least try to mix up the otherwise predictable pacing with varying degrees of success. In one flashback mission, we get to pull on the Kevlar-lined vest of Alex Murphy in his pre-RoboCop days, as he and his fellow officers are dispatched to investigate the whereabouts of some known perps.
Murphy, what does a cop's job mean to you?
I enjoyed this small glimpse of Murphy's origin in the Metro South precinct, even if the stilted banter between his squad was more than a little wide of the mark. And there were some fun Easter eggs to find here, including a memo that referenced the ominous rise of a new criminal on the scene that I won't spoil here. However, the setting of this sequence lacks imagination, given that its abandoned mill surroundings are a bit too similar to the site of Murphy's infamous crucifixion scene witnessed in the first film. And its combat feels somewhat topsy-turvy, where RoboCop must scramble to find OCP charges in order to replenish his rapidly depleting health. Regular flesh and bone Murphy somehow magically regains it in between shootouts. That's typical for a lot of first-person shooters, but it's less of a contrast to playing as a walking tank than I'd been expecting.
Shots fired! Police! Drop your weapon!
On the flip side, Murphy can only wield his boring old service pistol, which is frustrating because this was one of the few times I actually wanted to pick up a different gun, but couldn't.
I'm hit bad!
It all makes for a diversion that's important to the plot, but not particularly compelling to play.
Once my pop made an armchair for me. His spring nearly went up my ass, but can't throw it away either.
Thankfully, the same can't be said for the late game level where you get to pilot an Ed 209 mech. This fabulously frenetic stretch of fan service allows you to use twin arm cannons to shred through each hapless human like they're that one poor bastard executive that probably should have hidden the bathroom during the original Ed 209 demonstration.
You have 20 seconds to comply.
I think you'd better do what he says, Mr. Kenny.
You can also blast through concrete walls with rocket barrages, and even trample over a model of old Detroit's skyline while battling rival robots, like you're reveling in a small-scale clash of kaiju. Sure, it's perhaps not as cathartic as it could have been, given that by that point I'd already very efficiently turned hundreds of mercenaries into mincemeat with Robo's Auto 9. But I can't pretend I wasn't grinning like an idiot through this entire sequence, which ratchets up the carnage to ludicrous levels and doesn't linger long enough to outstay the welcome of playing as a near-invincible killing machine. I never got tired of seeing RoboCop himself on screen either. As was the case with the previous game, his polished steel armor looks absolutely spot on, and he always seems to be lit with ambient neon lights like he's emerging out of the driver's side of a Ford Taurus on the poster for the 1987 film. That said, outside of the smooth lines of Robo's movie-accurate character model, there's a noticeable roughness to unfinished business, at least on the PlayStation 5 version that I played. During my time with it, I suffered regular frame rate dips, enemies sinking through the floor, dodgy lip syncing,
please check if my wife is alright,
ridiculous moon physics during slow motion breaches, characters disappearing completely during finishing moves and story cutscenes, and even the occasional crash to the home screen. After a while, I started to wonder if the unfinished business title was a nod to RoboCop's everlasting quest for justice, or merely a reference to the launch date of the game itself. As someone who delighted in blasting through the original RoboCop Rogue City, my hopes for this standalone unfinished business expansion were higher than a junkie on Nuke. However, outside of the exhilarating playable cameo from Ed 209, there's really not enough new here to make another 10 hours as everyone's favourite baby food slurping supercop worth going out of your way for. Peter Weller's deadpan delivery is as endearing as ever.
Dead or alive, he is coming with me.
And the cryo gun is an icy blast, though ironically still not quite as cool to use as the Auto 9. But the supporting cast of characters is seriously shoddy, and the raft of performance issues on PlayStation 5 make for a bumpier ride than accelerating up the exit ramp from the Metro West car park.
He got me! Light him up!
If you thirst for some more Auto 9 bursts flourished with TJ Lazer-inspired twirls, then RoboCop Rogue City Unfinished Business will certainly scratch the itch on your trigger finger, but it's far from the future of law enforcement.
I primarily work with liquid nitrogen. How about that for an icebreaker? Get it?
Yes.
For more IGN reviews, check out our verdicts on Donkey Kong Bonanza and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4. And for everything else, stick with IGN.
Thank you for your cooperation.